Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a SpongeBob SquareCast. My name is Captain Eric, and we are continuing our sail through the first season of SpongeBob SquarePants. In this episode, we are talking about Scaredy Pants, the first holiday episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, but also the first Halloween one. That is fantastic. This episode is the first part of the 13th episode of SpongeBob, and it was also premiered on my birthday. October 28th, 1999. I was turning 9 years old on that day. I just gave you a ton of information about myself in one sentence. But this is one of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, not just because it's Halloween. I'm a sucker for holiday-themed episodes. But then on top of that, Halloween is number one for me in episodes. And I feel like most cartoons nail their Halloween episodes, and this is no different for SpongeBob. And of course, they'll have a long list of other holidays to tackle. But the fact that they did Halloween first always makes me smile. So in this episode, I'm not speaking with anybody from the collab this week. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a shift change, and I had to bring someone in super quickly or I would be recording this episode myself, which is not a problem, but I always like to try to have somebody there just to bounce ideas off of, and not just me rambling for a long period of time. But I knew of Michael Normand, who appeared on 2 previous episodes of this podcast, would be perfect for this episode simply because of his experience running and being a part of haunted attractions throughout the New England area. So I knew he got me involved with a haunted house last year. Super big professional. It's called Demented FX up in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Definitely check them out once everything's, kind of cleared and we're able to kind of go back to normal life again. But yeah, he got me involved there, and the process of getting in the mindset of being an actor in a haunted house it's stressful, but it's fun at the same time. And it's not something that's just easy, especially if you have a speaking part, which I had. But I knew he would be perfect to come in and talk about Halloween experiences, and then of course just talking about what he does, putting on haunted houses and the back end of them, the front end, how he gets into character, things like that. So it's a wonderful conversation about Halloween, haunted houses, and then of course we get into Scaredy Pants, the SpongeBob Halloween special. So enjoy our conversation. If you are a fan of this show in any way, shape, or form, one of the biggest things you can do to help out is to share this episode. Word of mouth is strong for podcasts, and I would really appreciate if anybody out there could share the link to this episode or just share about the show in general on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tag me in any of your posts, and I would love to have a conversation with you, and I just want to meet more fans out there. So by all means, if you enjoy what you're listening to, help us out any way you can. So now let's move on.
I literally picked a profession that I was like, I didn't get really cool costumes as a kid, so maybe I should just do that every day.
Well, I was just going to ask you, what's the worst Halloween costume you ever wore? And you can't choose something that was chose for you. Like, what was the worst costume you looked at and said, I want to dress like that for an entire night?
Okay, so here's the thing. I had extreme ADHD as a child, so we would always go to iParty every year or whatever it was, the costume store in East Long Meadow or whatever. And we would go in, and my mom would be like, pick anything. And I would pick a costume every year. But then we had a Halloween bin in the basement where there were like 30 years, because I have older siblings, 30 years of Halloween costumes in these buckets, right?
Yep.
And every year I would get a costume, and then Halloween would come 20 days, month later, and my costume would already be, broken because I wore it for 30 days. So I would just go downstairs into the basement, make a huge, weird hodgepodge. Like one year when Brink came out, I was, the lead rollerblader from Brink. That was probably my most complete costume. But then the year after, I still wanted to be the guy from Brink, but I also wanted to be a barbarian and kung fu master. So I had...
What?
Yeah. So I had my rollerblades, my Brink helmet. I scrapped, the basketball getup that the Brink guy wore, and then I put on some armor, a ninja gi over that, and I carried a giant sword that looked like Frostmourne from World of Warcraft.
Jeez. My answer is a lot simpler than that because my worst costume that I personally chose was one year I was Gabumon from Digimon.
That is one of the greatest
No,
costumes you
no.
could ever... What'd
It's
you
one
do?
of those
Just
things.
paint yourself?
No, I was in like iParty or Party City.
Did
They
that
have so
go?
many different names. So many different like Halloween stores at the time, or like party stores.
stores,
So I
yeah.
believe at the time it was called iParty in town. But going through, God bless Party City and their setup for Halloween costumes, because it's literally just a board of pictures.
Oh, you
And
see, we didn't have that, which
and you
sucked.
pick that.
Yeah.
You pick a picture, and they bring you your size, and you try it
Mm-hmm.
on. iParty at the time was like, here's 5 aisles with every costume,
you
crammed
could, yeah.
in.
And sometimes you'd get the thing and you'd look in it, and someone took a bunch of the pieces.
Yeah, somebody took like the one part that was
Yeah.
really cool.
So then you'd have to look for it or try to find something that
Yep.
looked like it.
So I remember, I couldn't tell you what other choices I had at the time, but this was definitely like, I was maybe not 8 or 9 years old, maybe even 10, which is just worse. Like, it gets worse the older I get, because I remember Agumon or Gabumon. Now, Agumon is a superior Digimon, but Gabumon has a cooler design,
Yes, he does.
which is what I was saying to myself when I chose the Gabumon costume. Like, this just looks cooler, and it had the extra arms because he had
little
he was wearing like a
fins,
wolf.
yeah. And the
Wolf's
horns.
yeah, it had everything. Big yellow belly.
Yeah.
I looked terrible. It's a terrible costume, and it's one that didn't take me long to regret. Probably not that night. Maybe that night when my best friend's father was like, "Huh, what are you supposed to be?"
See, I think it would have been better if they were like, "Here's, Garurumon," because you would have looked a lot cooler. You'd have
Yeah,
had
he had like
scars
he at
and
least would have had
stuff.
jeans and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like,
And like a punk
jorts.
rocker, like thing on his arm.
no, that's Wear Garurumon.
Oh yeah,
We got it. And then there's Metal Garurumon.
That would just be
That's the
you
last
walking
one.
around in like a night
It's a lot of
suit.
aluminum.
Yeah. Ting, ting,
The
ting,
plumbers in town are really upset.
ting. They're like, we gotta get
That guy wasted all of the aluminum.
we gotta take that kid out. He has all the copper.
Did you have a best costume?
Best costume. Let me think. Thinking back to Halloween's, I did the same thing almost every Halloween. I did a very crude but very well done Heath Ledger Joker makeup. When that came out, cosplay wasn't really that big of a thing, so you couldn't just order these things on
Yeah, it was
Amazon.
just being it was just at that time still
Yeah.
being like celebrated in its small groups
Yep,
on
and you would
online.
have to go like I went to Goodwill, like 3 of them, just to try to find, the shirt. I found a vest. I found a paisley tie. Nothing even compared to the hexagonal shirt and all that jazz.
Oh yeah.
And dyed my hair with the spray dye, and did the makeup. My dad he did like professional clown makeup back in the day.
Oh.
So he helped me a little. and we made it look just amazing.
Yeah, both times I dressed up as the Joker, the makeup part is terrible. Except
yeah.
the only good thing is there was one time I dressed up and made a custom costume of the Joker in Arkham Asylum. I tried to dye like white pants to get the correct shade of purple. I tried to get a white. I bought a purple jacket from Hot Topic. Like they basically had a Joker jacket at the time that was like $80.
Yep.
And that was the one time I ever really tried to do the makeup nice, like go for more of a Jack Nicholson, and it's so hard. It's so difficult.
It is so hard to do Jack Nicholson, and if you're not doing makeup, the perfect thing to do for Jack Nicholson is actually take 2 marbles, the larger marbles, and just stuff your cheeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Man. Because then the other time I've dressed up as Joker was for Heath Ledger, and that one, the makeup's already kind of messy, so if you don't get it perfect, it's fine.
When I did it, makeup wasn't that great that you would get from like iParty either. So like 3 hours into having this on, I remember going to a Halloween party, and I'm just like, this is just this is just gross. I have to take it. It was just all grease paint. So I was just like, I have to take this off my face. So then I just looked like a guy in like a nice weird suit.
You're only going to really look weird to anybody who walks in and didn't see you come in with the white makeup. Like once people see your costume, they get it. Like at least for adults.
Yeah, with the makeup off, I just look like Spencer Reed from Criminal Minds.
That I hope you told at least one person who did walk up there like, "Hey, what are you supposed to be?" And you're like, "Spencer Reed."
I'm Matthew Gray Goobler. Aldo model.
Clearly, you haven't seen the Da Vinci Code. Oh my goodness! Now, we've been talking about Halloween experiences in our personal lives, but you've experienced Halloween in a completely different way that I'm guaranteeing most people haven't. You are on the professional side of Halloween, haunted attractions, and businesses that would put on like Halloween-esque shows and entertainment. You've been a part of that for a long time.
Yes, I started in 2012 over at Six Flags. And I started in stage shows. I actually was I wasn't given the opportunity, but in college, they were like, hey, if you audition, because I was in the theater program, they're like, hey, if you go and audition for Six Flags real quick, we'll give you extra credit. And if you get cast, you'll get even more extra credit. So I went for one of the stage shows. I got cast in it was called Showdown in Ghost Town and Verdict is Sorcery. So I was, a cowboy who was, did a shootout show 3 times a day. And then I did a witch beheading show 3 times a day.
Yep.
And then, I just kept going back year after year. I did another show, Mortu's Coffins, which was super fun, where I was like a Beetlejuice-esque character. He sold used coffins, and he was also the MC of Fright Fest. So if you went there between 2013 and 2017, you would have met me there. And then after that, I went on to work at Demented FX as a scare actor, and then in 2019, it's 2020, I was their director of actors, their acting director.
Yeah. That's so much to do with scaring people and just being entertaining around the Halloween season.
Yeah, it's a different kind of entertainment because you're trying to kind of, put these people into this crazy story, this bigger world than themselves, scaring them, and it's just sensory overload from start to finish in the scare industry. And honestly, it's my favorite kind of acting, just because you're able to kind of use maybe past traumas or things like that to then just propel yourself forward and bring out these just tortured characters that could be fun, scary, comedic, or just plain terrifying.
Now, Six Flags, you are more, even though I guess you're supposed to come off scary, but still approachable.
So one thing that I remember Six Flags was always trying to do, especially when I started there in 2012, is they were trying to be like the scariest, And the park I worked at in particular, we were some of the highest scores, you know, in the country of being the scariest theme
So
park.
more
place, you
more
know?
in what Universal Studios does down south with their Halloween, like they take it super
They
seriously.
take it super serious. We actually, most of the actors from our park, they went on to you know, go work for Universal, Disney, all these different places. And then, you know, year after year, we would just have more and more talent want to work for them. One of my now good friends, you know, he watched, I watched him kind of grow up. He would go to my shows when he was like 12, 13 years old, and the minute he turned 16, he was like, I need to work at this place,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
And like he's in his 20s now. But it there are people who literally see these things, go to these things every year, and they will practice at home, and they will continuously just want to get scarier and scarier and scarier so that they can make a profession out of this. And one thing I think that's really helping now is social media, especially like YouTube and TikTok and platforms where you're able to just, you know, make creepy little videos or character driven things, which in the future, when theme parks open back up, scary places open back up, and we'll be able to run full time, I think we're going to see a lot of really good new talent, which will be really cool.
Absolutely. Do you have a preference between being a serious scare actor and with the goal of actually scaring people, or like where does your heart lie between that and being the entertaining kind of creepy host where you'd like to scare people but you're really there to entertain them? Like,
So for me personally, I love entertaining people.
Yeah.
That was like what I meant to do. I meant to make people laugh, cry, get angry, and just, you know, pick every single emotion out of them and make their day the best day possible. But one thing I learned once I left the stage show aspect of it is that I could do that in another venue. Um, I was nationally recognized in 2018 with one of the characters I created over at the haunted house, and I was able to literally just be a dramatic actor in a horror setting,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
very different to me. But I needed something to get me through the nights because they were so long. So I was basically in this little pillbox where people had to stop at me, and they were like, improv. So I improved for a little, but then I made a complete script, and, you know, it was, you know, a 4.2 minute script because it had to be timed like every 4 minutes, every 3 minutes, and then every 2 minutes. So every person would get the same show, but I would, you know, just go completely at it, full real tears, crazy outbursts, and just people were like, oh my god, this what is going on? And some people would actually be truly concerned, and I was like, I have never experienced this before. I'm used to people watching me for 15 to 20 minutes and then wanting a picture and then being like, I'll see you tomorrow. I loved your show so much, I'm going to come back.
Yeah, that's look, that exact mindset is the way I went with the character you wrote for me.
Yeah.
Which I was a part of Demented FX last year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the goal. Knowing, I feel like when you go into a haunted house, every single person is just, they all want to be the person to get you to jump. Like that's the endorphin that just goes through your body when you scare somebody.
Yeah.
And with everybody trying to fire on all cylinders with varying degrees in capability, I feel like it's more enriching to be that one part where there's like a false sense of security you give the person, because then you can set them up for the scare.
Yep.
So you can kind of just be like, I'm going to be here to be entertaining. And, ooh, look at me, boom. It's almost like being the, there's a goalie, there's a hockey term for it. The person who sets up the shot for the person who gets the goal.
Oh, okay.
And crazy thing, I'm just going to drop this. Wayne Gretzky, greatest hockey player in history,
Oh, yeah.
has the record for the most goals. Maybe that's been beat, but whenever I heard this, he was the highest goal person.
Mm-hmm.
Double that. He had more. He was also the number one in like the support setup.
Oh, okay.
So that means more than half the time he was trying to set up for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to be that person in a haunted environment. But ride that line too, or also for the people who are legitimately scared of you, you can really lay in on them.
Mm-hmm. And that is that most of my training, actually, myself and a lot of other people that I came up with in the industry, our training was mostly on that. It was, don't just try to scare the person, set that person up for each, kind of make it like a kill chain, like 1, 2, 3, and then those 3 people in a line can get one person 9 to 12 times.
Right.
And don't just kind of rely on being loud and being big, and use everything you can, use your environment. Just don't. One thing that definitely gets me is when you have, someone like yourself who's just this like super tall, brooding type person, and that's all they use. They don't use their voice. They don't use anything.
Yeah, they just think the sheer look.
They're like, I'm tall.
Yeah.
I'm strong. Someone's going to be scared of that. And it's like,
that is the career of the great Kali in wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm just really tall and I'm here.
I'm tall and I look strong. But it's like, what are you going to do with that? You use more than just that, because, if you're big, you're tall, you're strong, and then you come out with a weird little voice, that'll scare people more than your size.
Yeah, you want to the whole point, the scare is the surprise.
The surprise.
You got to think of this. You got to draw out the map of your haunt,
Mm-hmm.
and you're placing people where they're going. And let's say you have 50 scare actors in one haunt going through. If you make everybody scream at the patrons, you're not giving the patrons the moment of not knowing what's going to happen, because at some point they're going to be like, great, every person we run
Mm-hmm.
into. And then after 40 of them, okay, if you have that one that talks, they're just that's not the reward. If you do it every other, once again, you have to set it in a way that throughout the entire walk, the entire experience, the scarer the scary, the people walking through are never ahead of you. Like, they don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly, and that's one thing I feel like a lot of places that do these actually fall short, is they don't think about the storytelling aspect. If you don't have a story and all you have are big sets and you have no story, and all you're trying to do is, overload these people with sounds and yelling and screaming, you're not going to have a good product. And you may think you're doing a great job, and you're like, wow, we're doing so great. Like, we're screaming and people are screaming. But then afterwards, you have a ton of people who walk out going, is that it? I could have played Resident Evil and got a better scare than that.
Yeah.
And a story. People want a story.
I think the story always... Because I'm somebody that buys into that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's fake, but if I have somebody telling me before I go in, okay, in this building, there was a doctor, and this doctor killed everybody, and I'm going there like, okay, I'm trying to like mentally get myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it's almost, I think, a way we think critically. Like you're just putting yourself in a certain mindset. So if somebody wants to put in the effort to give me a story, I will give them the effort of thinking of somebody like, ooh, this is real, and
Mm-hmm.
But then you get some places, I think the Trail of Terror in Wallingford,
Mm-hmm.
where they have such a big location and such massive structures, like when you're walking up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. So it's all broken up into different sections of
Mm-hmm.
either famous licensed properties or just your average haunted, like the Carnival.
Yeah.
Is always a go-to. It's impressive, but the only thing, there's two things about that place, and to me it's positive. I'm not being negative on them, but it's the spectacle. Like, wow, this is big and a lot went into this. And then it's the moments that really surprise you. The last time I went, they had a section that blew my mind. It was not scary at all. Probably the least scary part of this entire walk. But the creativity that went into it. It was haunted, murderous Sesame Street.
Oh, okay.
So there are people in big costumes that are over the top to look with just ragged teeth and just blood splatters and Oscar the Grouch and Cookie Monster, and there's Big Bird, but not all there, and they have the music being played at a slow level, so it's really creepy. And I'm just looking around like
weird minor key.
yeah, and I'm just looking around like amazed. Almost as if a kid walked onto Sesame Street for the first time and it was legit. You're like, oh my goodness. It gets even better. You go through one of those air tunnels.
Oh, okay.
Into all of a sudden you're hearing the Muppet Show being played really slowly, and you're in the Muppet Theater.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they had a guy playing the Swedish Chef doing something dastardly. And yeah, it's not there to scare you. And I wrote that at the end. They have a survey thing as well, like, hey, what was your favorite part, least favorite part, any critiques or anything? And I'm like, more of that.
And
more
that's
of
one
that
thing.
Kind of creativity.
That's one thing I feel like a lot of places they don't hit on the ball. And I mean that may just be me coming from like a comedic background where, but when they try to do something funny, their energy is wasted. Because they think it's funny to themselves and it's very niche funny. But that is something where it is, people know what it is. People know that, oh, this is here to break it up and to be kind of like the comic relief, and then I'm going to get scared afterwards.
Right.
But some places just have it, thrown somewhere random and then thrown somewhere random again. And you're like, what was that?
That's why in big groups I would zero in on one or two people and make fun of them.
Yeah.
Because then it's not trying to appease everybody in the group. You're singling out one or two people that you're like, you're not going to enjoy this. And it's going to distract you. Not enjoying yourself is going to distract your group because they're laughing and they're also knowing like, oh, he's getting picked on. That when I lead them into the next room, if the right person is there, massive scare.
Yeah.
And that's, you and I go through haunted attractions with now a critical mind. It took me working at a place 1 year, and I've worked at smaller ones too, but I had a specific role in those. But it took me working 1 year actually in a professional haunted house for me to then like be able to walk through others and go, okay, now I see where you're being great, and I also see where you're missing the ball.
Yeah, that's one thing where I've been in leadership now for just like so long that when I really started going around the area in like 2015, I would just be I wouldn't enjoy it as much, some of them, because I was like, oh wow, this is riddled with things that could, coming from a corporate world, get you in a lot of trouble, and be just it's not a very like professional show that they're putting on, and that's not me coming off like, oh, I've been doing this. It's me coming off like there's so much they can do, especially since around here there are so many amazing venues that have such amazing sets and such amazing costumes, but their execution is just not, they just don't have someone who's able to push it forward,
Right.
They may have someone who's only done backyard haunts, and then they get the opportunity because they like just work hard, and they don't put any extra, effort into it, or they don't like doing their homework.
And that's one thing. I don't want to come off as a like me or you or I don't know better than anyone else out there, but the whole thing is about coming together and using the absolute best of everyone's ideas, especially with a haunt. So
exactly.
I'm sure some of the things that I could point out as going, that's probably not as good. I'm sure there's somebody out there who would in a professional sense say that is good. and you talk through it and hopefully come out with an even better idea than what both of you had going into the conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways to scare somebody, and everybody is different.
Yep.
You know, I only truly get frightened in a haunted house, haunted trail when massive spiders are involved. That's it. Everything else is either going to make me cringe or make me laugh. Like, it's... So, yeah. I'm a very specific person. You're not going to get me frightened unless you have a spider theme, but at least I'll walk out appreciating what you did.
Yeah, mine is touching.
That's the one thing that you're like,
The
no,
one thing.
no, don't do that.
I'm like, don't do that. That's all. That's a lawsuit, and I don't like that.
You signed a waiver coming in.
It was like, we went, and I was like, I did not sign a waiver, and the guy's like, sorry.
Yeah, we went to a place that actually had a waiver you could sign, and you'd have to wear like a colored.
Yeah, and I did
like,
not
glow
have
band.
any of these bands on, and the
And they
dude
did it.
touched me multiple times, and I was like,
Was it your leg? Wasn't the one grabbing your
he
leg?
grabbed my leg,
Yeah.
tried pulling me under a bed, and I was like, bruh,
I'm not wearing.
I'm not wearing anything.
Where do
if
you see
can-"
this color? And
I
he's
don't
like,
see.
sorry. Which still creepy.
Yeah,
Still creepy.
still creepy.
Yeah, I don't. The touching doesn't really bother me because I know the spots people are gonna go for.
Yeah.
It's obvious, so you're prepared. But yeah, I don't deal with the spiders. Trail of Terror, that's the one. Like, they start out with arachnophobia. They tell you, they're like, you're about to go into arachnophobia, and it's the start of the trail. And I'm like, nope. And I grab whoever's shoulders in front of me, and I put my head down, and I close my eyes. I'm not I don't feel like less of a man by saying that. I'm just telling you, I don't like this unrealistic thing.
My when
8-foot spiders.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite things to do when we were putting up in July and August at the Flags was in one of the old haunted areas that's now a new haunted area. There was a spider's lair, and it had multiple giant spiders.
How big?
We had...
Like as big as a car?
Yes, we had 3 that were that big.
Dude,
We had 3 that were huge, non-animatronic. Then we had 2 giant animatronic spiders. And it was once you were going into this catacomb area, you would look to your left, look to your right. The minute you walk into the catacombs, right to your right was this giant animatronic spider covered by like a roof. And then you would walk through all these spider webs that would, like a little under, not a quarter mile, but like 300 yards.
I'm getting
of spiders.
anxiety just you describing this. This is
Yeah.
terrible. I don't even know what arachnophobia looks like in Trail of Terror because I've always
just
seen the
always
inside of
close your
my
eyes.
eyelids. Yeah. The first time I went there though, because they changed the current layout has been a little bit the same with some few touches for the last couple years I went. But the first time I ever went, they had a part where you could go down a slide.
Oh.
And luckily, one of my best friends went down the slide first, and quickly I was behind him, and he quickly yelled up, "Eric, close your eyes, spider!" And I was like, "What?" And I went down the slide with my eyes closed. But as much as I am afraid, I'm also there is that just like I do have a base level curiosity, so I like opened my eyes a little bit, and it was like right when you'd go down, a massive like trailer size spider just down at you, and I quickly got out of that
You're just
room.
like, okay, eyes closed.
Done.
Door there.
Done. But yeah, that's my thing. Luckily, I haven't been in one who thank goodness I didn't go into Six Flags' haunted house.
Oh yeah, we there were always a lot of spider webs.
Oh my goodness.
And almost everything we
The
did.
one time I was going to tell you this when you were at your little birthday party. There was a lot of Six Flags
Yeah.
crew there. And I was going to say this, but I just didn't know if it would fall flat with the rest of them. But my favorite like thing they built for Halloween ever is when I was a kid. You know the bridge over to where the picnic area is?
Yes, the Grove.
The Grove. They had in the woods a massive tubed like dragon or snake.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those tubes of like that kids would crawl through.
Oh, okay.
One of those like metal fabric spring looking things.
Yeah.
So it was a massive one of those that was clearly just like spray painted a bunch of colors with just goofy eyes on it, and then there was two like dead bodies on the ground in front of it, and it would move up and down. And just being a kid walking over the bridge, looking to your left and seeing that, I was just staring at it for like 10 minutes.
So it's funny, like a lot of the stuff that was when it was pre Six Flags, when it was like Riverside, and
Riverside.
stuff, the stuff they made was very hokey, and it was just
Maybe it could have been Riverside.
It was just very out there, and I mean, I've made some pretty weird stuff. You know, like they would be like, "Go make stuff. Get ready for, you know, this is the punch list. Go make whatever you can." You know, and I would be like, if I was out of lumber, I'd be like, "Okay, you know, like look at the sticks.
It's twigs over there.
That is a tree that fell down. I'm gonna log that." And I would literally make my own lumber. You know, I'd take an axe and, you know, do crazy stuff, and then they'd walk through and they'd be like, "Did he lag? But what the? Okay, it looks like a cabin, I guess. That's cool. Right. Is that a mermaid? Why'd you make a mermaid? I thought it would be cool."
It
You
seemed
know?
cool. We're going for scary.
Yeah.
Scary too.
You know, just take a fake skeleton and then bind its legs together, put some fabric around it, and I made like weird fins on it, and they're like, "What is wrong with you?" It
No,
looked like a
you're
mermaid.
You're like, no, we can
Yeah.
put it in the water park,
And
because then it'll be scary.
I did what was called corpsing. So you put like latex over it, and they're just like, "That's cool. Okay, that's actually really cool." And then they made another. They had one of the seamsters make another one, but it
that's
was like for
awesome.
the carnival, the freak show area.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh yeah," but there's always cool little stuff like that. That's all around. Like one year in the Midnight Mansion, one of my supervisors, I went up to her, and it was like my first year doing like work crew, and I was like, "Hey, what's up with all the monkey heads everywhere?" And she's like, "I don't know what you mean." And I was like, "Follow me." And I was like, "These," and they were these giant wooden monkey heads, like giant, like, you know, like made with a chainsaw. Like someone made these, and they were like lacquered and
What?
stained, and they were of various sizes. The biggest one probably was like 2 feet by 2 feet, you know.
Jeez.
A huge cubed monkey sculpture, and there were 7 of them in there, and I was like, "I love these." And she's like, "Well, I put them in there, so you know they're a secret." And I was like, "Okay, can I have them?" And she's like, "What do you mean have them? Like keep them?" I'm like, No. We were remaking one of the haunts in the Grove, and it was, you know, zombie aftermath, and it was in a summer camp, and I was like, "I'm making a totem pole." And I took all 6 of the monkey heads and I made a totem pole. Like,
That's what they were originally meant for.
yeah. And I made an 8-foot totem pole. It is still there to this day. Actually, kids broke in and they broke it apart, but someone put it back together. And I think it's still there.
How did they break in? Isn't the Grove like a little island?
You can get in there. There are security teams, so don't try it. But people, you know, they come in, they try to party in the woods.
You're saying when the park is open,
When
they
the-
try to
yeah, when the park
get through down there.
when the park is closed at nighttime, like teenagers in the area try to, you know, they get in and then they break stuff.
Ugh.
You know,
Like, it's one thing that's what upsets me more than the kids breaking in. Like, it's one thing if you're trying to use this space if you're using it, like the Grove as a picnic,
yeah.
but you're gonna destroy things.
And the weird thing is, like, we have, over the years when I worked there, we had like tons of groups, you know, come through there and never make their way into the woods. But it's always like, you know, the local kids just come in. Like one year, like they burnt a bunch of they took all the fake bodies from the zombie area, and then they put them on the beach. There's a beach down there by the river, and they burnt all the bodies. They're not real,
I
you
would
know?
be terrified to go into a haunted attraction like that at night
Oh.
with no one there.
Oh, like, so a few years ago, they actually had a ghost team go and do like a, you know, they did.
Not that I don't believe in ghosts, but sometimes those teams are really, really corny.
Bro, they were like, "There's a spirit of a dead little girl here," and I was like, "They're like, people who work here have said for years that there's someone who lives down here and, like, you know, haunts them," and I was like, at that point, I worked there for 6 years, and I was like, I've been out here till midnight or 1 o'clock working by myself uh, in the middle of August, and the only thing that scared me were bears. So, no, there isn't a dead little girl haunting people down here.
It's a dead little bear.
Yeah, dead little bear.
Okay, they didn't say it was a human.
They said girl, Eric.
A girl bear.
A girl. Okay. They're like, it died in the 1800s, and it was from Riverside.
She told us her name was Rachel, and that her shoe size was an 8.5.
And that she wanted a season pass.
What?
She wanted a season pass. With a
PEZ?
a season pass.
Season pass.
Seasoned pass.
Oh my god.
Salt and pepper, please.
She still had her. She needs her picture updated.
She's like, I need the picture updated. I also want a fast pass,
I was just about to say that, the flash pass.
platinum, and free parking. I've been dead down here for 18 years.
But you don't have a car.
Just listen, ghosts can have cars too.
Can you bring the tram down?
Please,
Can the tram pick me up?
I want the guy who says it's party time.
Can the bus pick me up?
Can the bus pick me up?
Did you guys ever had a bus there, like an actual Six Flags bus?
What do you mean by that?
Like, you know when they would do the parades?
So
Because they have the Batmobile.
when I got there, all that stuff was being like, we had the parade trailer and all that jazz. When I first got there, I got to learn how to drive the trolley, and when I first started, like, supervising, I was an assistant supervisor, supervisory's assistant. I was a lead, which in other parks is a supervisor, but New England was a lot different. They
Named it differently?
They have 3 tiers instead of just 2, like most other parks. But I learned how to drive the trolley, and that was probably the last thing. That and the little gator mobile that
They got rid of the
did.
Batmobile before the trolley?
Yeah. So the Batmobile, the one from Clooney's reign, was just chillin', which was the one in the parade with all the lights and stuff on it.
Where the guy drove in the front.
Yeah. That was in one of the back lots.
Technically, Michael, that's Kilmer's Bat.
Sorry, Kilmer, the silver one.
All right?
Yeah.
Come on now.
But no, that I got to sit in that. That was pretty cool. It definitely did not run at all. And I know before I got there, one of them I think went to like Jersey or something like that, and that's near their Batman ride.
Oh, so they just have it at least for display purposes.
Yeah, like
I was
Jersey has it.
I was gonna
display.
be upset if they just like trashed it.
No, they usually like big stuff like that. They don't destroy that. That gets sent to a different Gotham City.
Why I feel like the times I've gone through the New Jersey Six Flags, there's been a lot more Looney Tunes statues.
They have a lot of cool stuff at Jersey. Honestly.
Yeah. Why don't they put more of that in Six Flags New England?
I know.
Like, why did they?
I have.
Or is that all them paying for it for their park? That's
Each park has their own budgets, man.
yeah.
Like, and it all depends. I mean, I don't know why. All I know is we had a lot of shows and stuff like that, and I know, like, when you met the Looney Tunes at Six Flags in New England anyway, like that was one big thing that New England has other than other parks, where the most characters. You can meet the most characters at New England.
Right.
On the East Coast anyway. Like, you could literally meet almost every single Looney Tune. You could meet every superhero other than Green Lantern.
Oh, they pulled him?
He in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Ryan Reynolds movie was just like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not featuring that guy anymore.
Yeah, but in 2017, you could meet Damian Wayne. You could meet Batman, Flash, and Wonder Woman and Supergirl, Harley Quinn, and Joker.
Yeah.
And the Riddler.
Not Captain Cold.
No, not Captain Cold.
They took him away too.
The last year I think Captain Cold was there was like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, the Legion of Doom
Yeah,
show.
the Legion of Doom. When I got there,
Which was such a corny show.
they all got sent back to Arkham, man.
It was such a corny show. It was right Six Flags New England. We had a Batman stunt show, which was basically a very corny retelling of Batman Forever. And when they wanted to get rid of it, they stopped the show and then but kept the theater for a new show called Legion of Doom, which wasn't a stunt show, but was just like 6 villains being one after another. One would start the show like, I'm the Joker, and then Captain Cold out of nowhere would be like, wait a minute, I'm Captain Cold, and I do this. And it was like them interrupting each other going like, oh yeah?
See, I never... Every time I went to Six Flags, I went to the stadium. I only saw the Batman stunt show once, and I saw it for 5 whole minutes, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I went back one year to just go see that show, and it was their dark day, so it wasn't running. And I just remember like being like, I'm never gonna be able to see this again. And then I went back another year, and they're like, oh, no, it's the Legion of Doom show, and the last one just happened, so sorry, you won't be able to see it today. And I was like, what can I see? And they're like, you could see the Trash Tones. And so I went and I watched them, the drummers, and I was like, this is cool, I guess.
Where's the Legion of Doom?
I was like, I like superheroes. I want to go see them.
That's the one thing I'll give Six Flags New England. The best superhero section compared to any other Six Flags park I've been to. Like, by a large margin.
Yeah, the one thing that does sadden me is they didn't get the dark ride that New Jersey got, which is actually the Hall of Justice. They got Star Labs, which was Cyborg, the ride. So it wasn't really... They didn't even get Cyborg, the character.
Which is a shame. You and I talked about one of our first conversations where we went down the rabbit hole of Six Flags and what goes on behind the scenes was the lack of the Teen Titans as a property in these parks.
Yeah, they're
lost.
There were Teen Titans costumes, but they were at like you could see them for promotional things at like WB stores when the cartoon came out. You could look them up, and they actually looked really cool, but they were like plushy.
Yeah.
Like they weren't real people.
Which still, though, I mean, even having that would have been cool.
Yeah.
And I think you and I looked up, there was one Six Flags that did have a pizza restaurant that was based off of Teen Titans.
The Teen Titans pizza restaurant, which was really cool. I think it would have been amazing if they... I actually had a conversation with one of my buddies, Andy, and we thought... We pitched it like every year because they're always like, new ideas. And we're like, Teen Titans area for the little kids. And people are like, that's not going to be popular. And then like a year later, the new Teen Titans show came out, and it was the most popular children's show of the year.
Teen Titans Go.
Yep.
Yeah, it still is popular too. One of the craziest things is the year I worked at Six Flags, they have right next to, right now it's the Hall of Justice, but it used to be an indoor Joker ride, which was just after a year or two got really just grimy and gross.
And now it is Star Labs Cyborg.
Yeah.
Which is the same ride as Joker.
No, the Hall of Justice at New England, where you go and meet everybody. There's a ride in there now?
Yep. They turned it into Cyborg.
Okay, you did say that.
Yep. And
I thought you were talking about New Jersey for a second.
No, yeah, it's basically a backwards Joker's wild card.
Oh my goodness.
It's like the same ride.
Oh, well, next to it they had Poison Ivy's Tangled Train,
Still
which
the
was
best roller coaster ever.
It was a tiny roller coaster, and it was going through like ivies and just a real, like almost like a swamp looking thing.
Yep.
So the first year I went there, they renamed the ride Catwoman's Whip, changed the carts to purple, and that's it. It was still you were
now
still
they
going
have a
through
statue
a
and
swamp.
stuff.
Yeah,
but...
they have a statue of Catwoman, but you're going through a swamp still, and it's just, I was like, why'd you guys change this? And they were like, we don't know.
Talking about that statue, one of my favorite days ever, I was chilling with my boy Robin, and a guy walks up to Robin, and he's like, hey, what do you think about that statue? And I was like, sir, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm like 16. And he's like, no, tell me what you think about that statue.
How old is this guy?
This guy was in his 40s. Like
with no family or anybody?
Late 40s,
just
no family.
Walking through the park alone?
Well, he just got off the ride. Catwoman's Whip. And he's like, what do you think about that statue? And I was like, I don't want to have this conversation with you, bro. And he's like, well, I like it. And I was like, that's good for you. I'm a child.
What would you have done if a bald patron in a suit just started to be Lex Luthor?
Oh my God.
Like overacting to the crowd to make them think that he's Lex Luthor. Like, oh, this is a part of Six Flags.
berate
Would you have-
him
would you
and
have stopped
belittle
him?
him.
Would you have stopped him though?
Yes.
Or would you have
Played along
Played
to the
off
point
it.
of belittling him. So it is close to the end of summer. So
Are you about to tell me somebody tried this?
listen. So closer to the end of summer, when you're getting towards September, that's when a lot of the people start coming in costumes.
And you guys will allow that too, right?
And
Like,
we will allow that. And during the whole summer, if you come in like a cosplay or weird clothing, we're not gonna. They wouldn't really stop you as long as you're not
there
you're not a
used to be
character.
that guy who dressed up as Superman.
Yes. The Rickler. He walks around Springfield.
In his Superman suit.
In Superman, Supergirl, all these different costumes. Dora the Explorer. He once came into a Burger King
As
when
the
I was
Burger
in
King?
college as Pocahontas.
Even better.
No, but the city knows that guy. I forget his real name.
But anyway, they would allow you to wear costumes.
They would allow you to wear costumes, and Batman and Robin are walking around one day, and weird thing, this guy actually became one of my good friends and worked at the park 3 years later. He was in a Jack Frost costume. And
Jack Frost, Santa Claus 3, or Jack Frost, Rise of the Guardians?
Rise of the Guardians.
Okay.
And we're like Batman looks at Robin. He's like, this is going to happen. And I was like, oh, it is. What's happening? And he's like, it's not Halloween yet. We gotta. And I was like, okay. Because the superheroes went back to Gotham City or their respective cities, Star City, all those.
Once Halloween starts,
once
because then
Halloween
they'll put more villains out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Batman runs up and he's like, what are you doing here, Freeze? And I was like, yeah, what are you doing here? And we just laid into this kid for like 10 minutes. And he's like, oh my God, this is both awesome and really scary. Like, what? And he's like, I thought I put you in Gotham, in Arkham City in Gotham. And he's just like, oh my God, like, what's going on? And he's like, this isn't Halloween. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, it's a costume. It's a costume. And he's like, it's not Halloween yet. And he then got hired 2 years later.
They were like, look, when you
yeah.
make it to 16, you can come back.
Yeah.
You'll have a job.
2 years later, he got hired for Fright Fest, and he
Plotting his revenge.
You actually
ever since.
you actually met him last year at Demented, Lyle.
Oh, I knew Lyle from Enfield High.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, Lyle.
Shout out to Jack Frost.
Yeah, shout out to
Out
Jack
there.
Frost.
Who was getting berated by Batman.
Yeah.
Now, the episode we're watching today,
Mm-hmm.
it's SpongeBob's first holiday episode, and it's Halloween-centric.
SpongeBob always scared me during Halloween.
The haunted mattress.
Listen, anything Halloween on Nickelodeon as a child scared me.
Halloween episodes were always my favorite.
Always my favorite though.
Yeah.
Also Disney, Boy Meets World, that episode, I had nightmares for months.
Let's not forget Roseanne.
Yes.
Ugh. Roseanne Barr. Like, the Roseanne show had the legendarily best Halloween episodes because they would go all out on the budget.
Oh yeah.
Make the costumes really scary and whatnot.
I mean, Roseanne's just scary in general.
Oh, boy.
Ooh.
Topical. She felt that. Ambien. Anyway. So the episode we're watching is Scaredy Pants. This is very notable because it's the first time we ever hear the Flying Dutchman's voice.
Oh.
He appears in person. It's not his first appearance in the show because in a previous episode
You do.
he's in the Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost.
Yep.
SpongeBob has the magazine. The voice of the Flying Dutchman is being played by Bill Murray's brother, Brian Doyle Murray, who, man, right when I think of him, I think of Wayne's World.
Mm-hmm.
He plays
Mm.
Noah. No, he plays the arcade owner.
Yep.
Noah. No, it's Noah's Arcade, but I'm trying to think of the name. Like Vandercourt or something like that.
Yep.
He is also the mayor in Groundhog's Day.
He's also in. He is in Caddyshack.
He's in Caddyshack.
He's in Caddyshack.
Well-known actor, but man, as the Flying Dutchman, does he absolutely kill it every time he's on this show, and has been doing it ever since. What a good guy. Good guy, Brian Doyle Murray. We also have we have another meme in this episode that appears when Mr. Krabs is bobbing for apples. But yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to watch Scaredy Pants, and we'll be right back. Say pudding.
2,000 years later.
Hey, we're back. Hey, we're back.
Hey.
We just watched Scaredy Pants, and now we're going to talk about Scaredy Pants. So if you'd like to join us, I know that there's a splattering of SpongeBob Halloween DVDs, but we're watching this through Amazon. From the good folks at Amazon.
Prim.
It's not Prime, it's called Prim.
Like the Hunger Games.
And you can start it now. And we're starting at the intro because why not? But, yeah, what'd you think? What'd you think about that episode?
I remember it.
That's it? You remember it?
I really enjoy it. It's funny. It's silly. And the whole time, my brain kept making false memories of the episode by filling it in with later episodes, such as, like, scaling and things like that. My artistic mind was like, oh, wasn't this? No. Nope. Nope.
The Flying Dutchman is named after the legendary ghost ship, the Flying Dutchman, and seems to resemble the famous pirate Blackbeard, or the ship's captain and mythological character Davy Jones. Although, according to the legend of the Flying Dutchman, the ship's captain is a man by the name of William Vanderdecken.
Not James Vanderbeek?
Not James Vanderbeek. No. Why did you bring his name up?
It just, the minute you said it just sounded like Vanderbeek.
Oh, yes, that guy, the third one.
Yeah.
That guy. I know exactly what you're talking about. I love the charm in these older episodes. Look at the plates on the bottom right there that were just kind of like quickly painted on.
It's
and
like
then one color over it.
we talked about this in a previous episode, and I love the old just animation style where everything's not complete, or you could tell they didn't look at the previous cell for reference.
Yeah. You pointed this out, which I never cared to notice. It's just one of those things. All of the skeletons used in Mr. Krabs' decorations are fish skeletons, but not of the fish in Bikini
No,
Bottom.
they're
It's like
anatomically correct.
Yeah. I don't know what to think of that, though. Because there's been jokes about, like, other fish and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's been jokes about fish that look like ours.
Yeah.
What we're used to. But there's not really ever been characters in the show that have been correct fish.
No, the only place where you really see them as real is when they're, like, you know, out of the ocean, or in the movies when you see them as, like, their real counterparts, you know?
Yeah. And this is also, look right behind there's the haunted jellyfish decoration too.
And see, that's stylized. It's not like,
It's
you
not
know,
a realistic jellyfish. It's
yeah,
a SpongeBob.
jellyfish skeleton, you know.
This is the first episode not only to be based on a holiday, but it's the first episode to take place entirely at night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't expect that. Brian Doyle Murray, though, another little thing about him being the Flying Dutchman, his birthday is on Halloween.
Check that out.
That's why he got the role. Look at this little cowboy. The fact that they even know
What cowboys are.
There was an underwater west at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Which that is true
The frontier.
because they've had episodes in the Wild West, Pest of the West.
Oh, those flowers.
And the fact that the pumpkin though is also like a human Earth size.
With actual giant pumpkin seeds in it.
Yes. The pumpkin pies underwater must be excellent. Hold on, I'm putting the sound on very, very slightly.
My favorite is in this scene that, like I was saying earlier with looking at previous cells, Gary's photo in every cell is different.
But that's just great
And
charm.
it's great. It adds that old atmosphere to it, that classic drawing style.
You can't see. You have to spend these days. You have to spend much more time and money to copy this
Mm-hmm.
when, to me, it's just easy. Like, just go back to the old way cartoons were made.
It was go, 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 draw, 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 draw,
Yes.
go, go, go. We have to get it done by a deadline. Now it's get it done by the deadline, but make sure everything is picture perfect and pristine.
Yes. And then in some cases, like the Rocco special on Netflix had to, like, go out of its way to make itself look like an old
Yeah.
cartoon, but still high definition. Do we talk about the fact that seemingly SpongeBob had a pine tree in
Whole
his
pine tree.
closet
Human pine tree.
that Patrick just took?
And made clogs out of.
Or that was option one. Option two is that Patrick was pulling a Legend of Zelda and was carrying that pine tree in his pocket, went to his inventory, pulled it out to use.
Boop, boop, ba-da-ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I know the character's name is Link, but that's the style of your pocket in The Legend of Zelda. Okay. Right. I just want to correct that. Last thing I want is a comment being like, called the guy Zelda.
Click, click, click.
Like, it's
now,
Link.
are we talking about like Wind Waker? Are we talking
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask?
That's the best
okay.
one. It's
Yeah.
the best one. Not
That's
to get too much off topic, but
It's
it
one
is
of the
the
only
best.
ones I still have.
Yep, there we go. That was the only one I was actively trying to beat. I love this joke that Patrick can't find the difference between his hand puppet and SpongeBob, because I think it goes deeper than that.
It's one of those like childhood square, circle, triangle games, and he's just like, I don't know.
But it goes deeper than that, because I think he doesn't know which one. To him, the hand puppet is real.
Oh,
He
He's like,
doesn't know
"This
this
is-
they're both people. I don't know
this
which
is
one's the difference."
Abernathy.
Yes. He dabs his forehead with sponge.
I like how if you looked really closely, a couple of those that popped off him were in the shape of bees.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
I didn't. And it's crazy. No one ever pointed out. I mean, it wasn't until the Hooks episode where the idea of like humans actually fishing in this part of the ocean was brought up. SpongeBob's got a decoration on his wall of a giant lure.
Oh yeah, he has two of them, right?
Yeah, he has multiple lures.
Yeah.
I think he has a nightstand or a side table that's the bottom part of a lure with three hooks
the
on
three
it.
hooks.
Yeah, it's just crazy those kind of ideas. I love how Patrick is dressed as Groucho Marx, but also Patrick is also dressed up as Montez from the Workaholics.
Now, can we talk about that skull rock? Do you think that is a legit skull, or do you think that is a rock-sized, a skull-shaped cave?
Well, I can't say it's not a skull, because every idea I'm trying to come up with that takes the fact that it's covered in barnacles and sand and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then my thought is, what if it's there for a while underwater?
Yeah, and
It's going to get covered.
And the thing is, it has coral growing out of it and skull. If you know that coral actually is very resembled of a human or bone,
Huh.
Animal bone.
Maybe
or
that is a
whatever.
deeper ocean
Yeah,
reference.
because
than-
you can get graphs of that stuff.
Oh, there's our meme moment there. And Pearl being dressed as like Bride of Frankenstein with a vampire fangs. Probably just a lazy combination.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy here with the most terrifying costume in the room.
I love it because it's so realistic.
Yeah, but she's walking around as a captive of, like, she's partying with fish dressed as a captured fish.
And they're just like, I don't understand what you are.
Thank goodness, because if you did, you guys would dislike this costume.
And they still don't understand what kind of fish she is.
And the fact that the Krusty Krab's entire electricity is plugged into one power strip, that I'm going to propose this. Mr. Krabs is stealing someone else's electricity.
He's probably getting it from the chum bucket. Let's be real.
The chum bucket, he has electrical cords coming from an outlet on the outside of the chum bucket to one power strip where he plugs in all the lights.
And he's just like, Plankton won't mind.
There's an idea for a future episode
Oh.
to kind of come back to this, because that makes total sense.
That's where it all started.
Yeah. He doesn't have to. He doesn't pay electricity whatsoever. It's funny too that they have people dressed as Frankenstein underwater, which means, is there an underwater version of Mary Shelley who writes an underwater version of Frankenstein? Or did a copy of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein somehow make it underwater?
All the way down to Bikini Bottom.
And then the fish
transcribe it
to smaller books. There you go. Now Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is
also this electrical storm
that
underwater.
was really cool. I when I was looking at this episode last week, I was slowing down the frames, and it was literally just like back and forth, really intense colors. And for such a quick shot,
so very cool,
super cool. You pointed out something that I just took for granted, not took for granted, but I just never really realized it. But that the Flying Dutchman, the reason he is so massive is because he's supposed to be like a human size.
And his scaling is different throughout the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think
seasons.
he can. Well, I think he can change his size.
Yeah. Also, I love that he keeps his souls in this little man satchel.
He looks still look tough and hold your stuff. This is the only time the Flying Dutchman's pigtails are not straight.
Oh yeah, they're like windy or like Pippi Longstock in here.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Peter Burns, though. This was his last episode as a writer. But I mean, so far, man, this has been great writing in the show. Let's see.
And there he goes, changing.
Yeah, he shrunk down his size a little bit to talk to SpongeBob. The main character's Halloween costumes. Sandy is a pet goldfish in a bowl. Squidward is the Flying Dutchman. Pearl is the Bride of Frankenstein or a lady vampire. Patrick is Groucho Marx. Mrs. Puff is a witch. And SpongeBob is a mattress. He's the ghost of the Flying Dutchman, but come on. He was not the ghost of the Flying Dutchman. And the fact that he's okay with this stylized choice here, that his brain is exposed, like he clearly is aware of it.
Now looking at his physiology here, they actually show it in multiple episodes in the future, how it's a little bit different. You know, like this is like kind of like his spine. He doesn't really have a spine, but then they show it in other episodes, you know, where he's all like, you could see his internal skeleton, but here it's not showing. He has no skull.
Yeah, that's why anytime there's been like a skeleton of SpongeBob drawn, I always go like, that's not right. He has no bones.
He has no bones.
He has said that in an episode before. And he's a sponge.
Yeah, because like when they go into his head, when he has plankton in there, you see that.
Yeah.
You know.
But then in another episode where they all shrink down the size.
Yep.
And they all attack SpongeBob, and they're inside of him like breaking bones.
Yeah, there are bones.
How? What is going on? But that was Scaredy Pants. Our second time kind of going through it. Quality. Now, I think down the road, I think they go into the Halloween season a bit more like trying to be, I don't know, scarier. But I think this is a good step as far as a holiday episode goes. I don't think it's my favorite Halloween Nicktoon
I would
episode.
definitely say during this time, early 90s, late 90s on Nickelodeon, their bar for Halloween content was set very high. And I also feel like at this point in 1999, you know, people are still feeling this show.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to scare kids off too much. You don't want to do anything like that. You want to play it a little safe. You know what I mean?
My favorite, honestly, is Doug's.
Yeah, I loved Doug's.
Where they are in Funky Town and they're waiting to go into Bloodstone Manor. And what sucks is that Doug and Skeeter are the next ones in line with a lot of people behind them, and they're just like, okay, park's closed. Bye.
Yep.
But then they sneak in with Roger, and it's one of my favorites because it gives you that bit of a wink like, did all that really happen or didn't? Because the Phantom, it seems like he kind of shows that the whole ride is fake, but then he could be real.
Yeah.
And it leaves you with that moment.
I feel like Nick did that a lot with a lot of their Halloween episodes, like with Hey Arnold and all those things. It was a lot of leaving it to the unknown. You know, Rugrats did it.
Rocco's Modern Life had a great Halloween episode.
And they were all that kind of like, was it really ghosts? Was it really that? And like you're saying, they just left it to your interpretation, and then it never happened. Going on to the other episodes, it was like that's a separate universe from all the others.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, I do think compared to a lot of other Nicktoon Halloween episodes, I think Scaredy Pants is maybe middle of the ground. But when it comes to other holidays, I think SpongeBob has excelled past other Nicktoons. Their Christmas one is up there. Nothing beats Hey Arnold's Christmas. That is the best holiday episode of any show, verbatim, regardless.
Theirs were always touching.
SpongeBob's up there with his Christmas episode. Valentine's Day SpongeBob's episode is like number one. Every other Valentine's Day cartoon.
Rugrats Hanukkah, Let My Babies Go.
My
favorite.
No one has tried to tackle a Hanukkah episode again.
My favorite.
And they did Kwanzaa too.
Yeah. They did so many. I had all the books too. I got them at a Scholastic book fair.
Rugrats,
all of the holiday ones.
books.
Yep.
Man, Rugrats. I was messaging you the other day when I was watching All Grown Up.
Oh my god.
And it was the first time I liked the All Grown Up special, and when the show first dropped,
when they flash forward into the future.
Right, that was the backdoor pilot for it.
When it was a wish.
And I enjoyed the show right when it started, but I didn't get into it as intensely as I did other shows. But man, I got emotional the other night, watching it and being I was appreciative that we got to continue on with these characters in their lives. It wasn't just a one-off. You can see how things are in their life, and not everything is perfect. And some of the topics that were in this season, right in the beginning of season 2, were heavy topics.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they could have actually expanded upon it and continued with these topics.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done a back to school, college, or even an all grown up.
Like how they are in their 20s or 30s.
30s
I mean, now it'd have to be
Yeah.
30s. It'd
Angelica would be 34, 35.
Yep. And Tommy would...
Tommy's born in 1991.
Tommy would have the house
Yep.
that his parents lived in, and he would have his...
They'd move down to Florida.
It's not... Oh, yeah, it's a Florida-style house.
Yeah.
Or it's in California.
Yeah,
it's one of the two.
yeah. And then I feel like it would be California, and the parents would move down to... No, they would stay in California.
Chucky owns the coffee shop that his father ran, the Java Lava.
And I feel like Dill would be he'd be like a bright entrepreneur. He'd be like a millionaire. He owns a nice big millennial company. He had a nice good startup.
Well,
he made an Uber.
There's an opportunity. I mean, they are bringing it back to TV. So if it does hit big and they do it right, because they're bringing back the original writer.
Yep.
When the show started, it started with 3 people: Arlene Klasky, Garbor Shupo. That was Klasky Shupo, who made Rocket Power and All Real Monsters and all this. And then there was Paul Germain. Paul Germain was the head writer and was the guy behind Angelica, making her the antagonist. He was the one making the more serious episodes, or the ones that would really for example, Arlene Arlene Klasky hated Angelica. Yeah. Hated how mean she was. Disliked episodes when they had court, because she was it's too adult, they're babies, but it's a cartoon. So after the initial 52 episodes ended, they were okay, everybody, we're moving on. Nickelodeon made a mistake in the programming, and Rugrats was playing 10 times a day.
I remember
was just
that.
Getting killer ratings.
Yeah.
So then they came back to Klasky Chupo and they're hey, do you want to make more Rugrats? We'll come back to you. And they said, yeah, but Paul can't come back.
Oh.
So they went on and did the Hanukkah special in 95, and then put in production a new season along with the movie.
Brought in Susie and on all that.
No, Susie was
Kimmy?
Susie was season 2. Season 2 probably, but it's very early on they brought her in. But no, they got to 3 or 4 seasons, and then
they brought
the series
in
was done.
Kimmy and...
No, then they had 1 season to bridge the Hanukkah special to the movie, because there was an episode that Stu and Dee Dee went on a cruise.
Yep, I
and
remember
she was
that
getting
one.
sick the entire time. Then she's I'm pregnant.
When the animation started to
getting nicer.
Then they
had the movie, and then they had a season or 2 where Dill was added.
Yep.
Then they had Paris.
Then Kimmy.
Then Kimmy was added for another season or two and then canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And in those last 2 seasons is where they had the 10th anniversary special in which the babies grow up and have the
And then the
epic
spinoff,
adventure.
yep.
And then the spinoff came in, I think, like 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 2001 they had the 10th anniversary special. So I think it was 2003 or 4 they had all grown up, which I thought got canceled after 2 seasons. It actually lasted 5.
Wow.
And it was 55 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Still in the shadow of Rugrats. Rugrats has
Yeah.
like 100 and something, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty respectable run.
Yeah.
I didn't give it its credit. I apologize. I admit that right now.
It was so good. I loved it.
I know you were like Chucky is bae.
I was like, Chucky is bad.
Chucky is out there. In the initial episodes, he's like, I want to purposely get in trouble.
And you're like, oh.
Oh, okay, this is a different Chucky. And Tommy is kind of worried. This is, growing up. Boom, right there. Oh, man. Well, thank you for coming on another episode.
Oh, you're welcome anytime.
Last
Thank you
time
for
we
having me.
recorded, my car got towed.
Oh, yeah,
And
it did.
It's happening again. I'm going to go outside. My car's going to be missing.
Or my car will be gone.
That would be hilarious. I would feel bad, but
I just bought new tires,
you
man.
gotta admit that would be hilarious if
It
this
would
time
be
your
pretty
car
fun.
got towed. We recorded 2 episodes, and then right as I left,
You're like, where's
it
your
was
car?
we had the moment of, dude, where's my car?
And I literally was going on vacation in an hour and a half.
Yeah,
so
you
I
were
was like,
leaving in an
I was
hour.
like, bro, I'm leaving for 2 weeks. I feel okay. Let's get in the car. I'll drive you to the impound as fast as
we
possible.
didn't even know where it was at first.
No.
I was on the phone with the police, and we were, if you remember, there was like the conversation with the police, and then there was the conversation. They were hands off. They were like, dude, we just got called and then called the tow truck. So
Yeah.
you have to deal with the tow company. And I called the tow company because the reasons that were given from either side were like, this is what was wrong, and then this is what was wrong. And I'm like, what's going on?
And the crazy thing is, when I asked my neighbors, I was like, "Did you call the cops on a car that was parked here?" And my neighbor, who you parked in front of, she wasn't even home. So
Someone else.
She was like, "I wasn't home, and I don't mind if it's like people from you guys, and
Yeah.
I know because I have a camera, and I would see them walk into your house, and I'm like, oh,
So
true."
no one called.
Yeah, no one called.
It was a cop coming down the street, and at the time I had a leak in my gas tank, so it would drip every minute or so. So this cop rolling down the street sees an out-of-state car dripping gas, and I think he asked one neighbor of like, "Hey, do you know whose car that is?" And they were like, "Nope." So the cop just assumed, okay, it's been here for a while. I'm sorry, I think the first time he didn't notice the gas and put a sticker on it that said, like, when you abandon a car, they put the sticker on
Which
it.
you can't do that. It was you were there less than 2 hours.
Right, so he didn't know, so he puts the sticker on, and then it was another officer driving by later on who sees the sticker. They saw the leak and was like, I'm getting it towed. So to the tow company, they saw the sticker and was like, they weren't told about the leak. They were just like, oh, we're picking up an abandoned car. So there was all these different answers as to what happening. One officer saying it was abandoned. One officer saying it was leaking. The second part is true. But either way, my car got towed. And either way, the tow company's like, pay us money or you're not getting your car back, even if it was done by mistake.
And I remember you telling me that the cops told you, like, oh, this is a high like drop abandoning area.
Yeah, like we
And
find
I
a
was
lot
like-
of cars down here.
And I was like, it's a boulevard, and every single house has the same cars in front of it every day. It's not a place where you abandon a car. We have a neighborhood watch. Like, no one abandons cars on this street or even thinks about going on this street because everyone knows everybody.
Right,
You
right.
know? It's like not a street that people go down. It's like everyone knows each other's name and are like, oh, hey, Jim. Hey.
So completely lied.
Yeah.
And then I was still out of money because that's what happens, kids, is, when they have your vehicle, you can't do anything. They're like, they don't care what caused them. They're like, either way, your car ended up on our tow truck and you owe us money.
All grown up.
all grown up did not prepare me for this. It prepared me that my brother may be weird. That was it. And that the Rugrats grow up in a way you did not expect, which I didn't get to appreciate after the first season. They kind of changed the art style slightly, if you remember
It was
this.
stylized, more stylized.
And I realized I hated it for years. And now I realize that it was not that they really changed the art style. What they changed was the lighting effects. I mean, some characters got different hairstyles, like
Yep.
Phil and Lil changed their hairstyles up, and Tommy changed his hairstyle up a bit. But what always bothered me
Because
was
it went more to like a...
it was more straight up
Yeah.
now, and then he had a little tuft in the front.
Because it used to be the straight
Yeah.
forward.
And I realized that I hated it because of the color change and the stylized changed. But then when I was actually watching it the other day and staring at the colors and whatnot, I was going, they didn't actually change colors. It just changed lighting. It's being lit in a different way, and there's always a shadow on the side of their head, regardless on where they turn. But then, I was fine with it. Like, all right, hey, things change, and I actually like the designs a little bit better the second time. It feels like it's standing on its own.
Yeah.
Because for the first season, they copied pretty much all the same hairstyles they had in that one special.
Yeah.
And what do teenagers do?
They do their hair.
They change their hair
a
up.
whole lot.
Yeah.
I know I changed mine a whole lot in that era.
Oh, you mean not now?
Yeah.
You're getting prepared for your costume.
Yes,
I know.
I am. I'm getting prepared for that so much.
Where can people check you out? They want to follow your
So
your makeup tutorials. You have a fairly famous social media following right now. Plug
yes,
everything.
it's getting there. So I have multiple social media platforms. I haven't checked in on my makeup page in quite a while. That is Michael Vincett's Custom FX on Instagram. Then there's also McCardigan on Instagram, and then on TikTok it is McCardigan47. Which I do mostly cosplay related and Six Flags stories, Tales of a Costume Character.
Yeah, be getting a little
stories,
following up there on TikTok.
Getting a little following over on TikTok. I also do Spider-Man on there. I'm gonna be doing Geralt from The Witcher again on there.
Yep, you got a Geralt costume.
Yep, was doing that for a while. Then I also have my Facebook, which is my comedy page, and that is Mike Normand 26, and that is mostly satire videos where I also have drink reviews. It's Mike at a bar in a basement, which is pretty cool, where I review beer, mixed drinks, and do comedy weekly quarantine thoughts with that one. I haven't done those in about 5 weeks.
You just sip something and you go, okay, that was nice. And then that's the video. That's the
Honestly, the last one I did was just that, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm not gonna do these for a while. But mostly right now I am doing primarily TikTok.
All right. Well, definitely anyone listening to this, check them out. I'm obviously going to have you on again in the future. Thank you for being a last minute help in this regard.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's much appreciated. And you are welcome on any time, sir, to talk about whatever you'd like. What are you playing over there?
I'm sorry, TikTok opened. I was checking.
Stay close to
Just
TikTok.
checking. You gotta stay close. My phone does weird stuff sometimes.
All right. Give a haunted goodbye in a voice of your choosing.
Goodbye.